They're trying to scare people. This is an intimidation tactic. Accuracy should always be the North Star, and this is designed to make the census less accurate so that they can pursue a partisan agenda. That is wrong. The plain language of the Constitution in the enumeration requirement says you are to count the number of persons in the United States every 10 years. It does not say count the number of U.S. citizens. They want to change it to count the number of U.S. citizens so that they can engage in very not subtle voter suppression.
So the big question is, with a whole bunch of states now suing the federal government, saying you can't do that, will they? Let's bring in Michelle Malkin, host of Michelle Malkin Investigates on CRTV. Michelle, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
So the big question is, will there be a citizenship question on the 2020 census? Will you check the box, are you a U.S. citizen? Apparently they started leaving it off in 1950 because they probably wanted more room for other questions because there were so few people in this country who were non-citizens.
Well, as I've said, only in America does a country get sued for asking who's in it. It is complete insanity. And, you know, when you have illegal alien activists like Tom Perez, whose entire history has been one of shilling for amnesty in Maryland and now for the DNC, only in America do you have sworn politicians who have taken an oath of office to uphold the laws and constitution of this country out there lambasting the Trump administration for asking a very simple question. What this is about power. I did plenty of reporting on this under the Obama administration. This is a power grab. And under the Obama administration, they tried to turn the Census Bureau into a massive community organizing experiment. Because what is at stake? Electoral power. The census is used to apportion congressional seats. More people, more seats. And if you can count illegal aliens as part of that, it's no illegal alien left behind. That's what we're really talking about
and
here.
More Medicaid money, too, on top of that, because we have to find out who's here. And plus, Michelle, there's a lot of great people here that have green cards. There's a lot of people here on student visas. Why don't we know them, categorize them? It's a difference. It matters.
Yes, that's exactly right. The other thing I want to point out, of course, is that all of these special interest groups on the left who have used the Census Bureau as a jobs program, and it's exploded through the Clinton administration, the Bush administration, through Obama, are now locked out of that power. You will remember that it was groups like ACORN and the SEIU that were the foot soldiers administering these census questionnaires out there. And now they will not have that. That is why people like Tom Perez have turned into hysterical ninnies about it. Unfortunately, the omnibus the budget bill increased the Census Bureau's budget to $3 billion. I think the good news is, though, hopefully it will not be used as a plundering slush fund for those left-wing groups that oppose this administration at every step.
I want to ask you, too, about the Planned Parenthood affiliate that is in Pennsylvania that put out a tweet saying, we need a Disney princess that has an abortion. We need a Disney princess that is pro-choice. We need a Disney princess who's an undocumented immigrant. We need a Disney princess who is actually a union worker. We need a Disney princess who's trans. They deleted that tweet. What's your reaction?
Well, I had to do a double check and make sure that this was actually not fake news, that this wasn't some sort of onion parody. But that's what the Planned Parenthood ghouls have become. You know what? We need a Disney princess to tell young girls and women the truth about the death lobby, about people like Margaret Sanger, who was the godmother of Planned Parenthood, who advocated eugenics, who thought that the mission of abortionists should be, quote, to stop the multiplication of the unfit. And specifically, they meant black people and people with congenital conditions and defects, people who they considered unwanted life in this country. And the other, sort of basic point about this is, Can we leave the Disney princesses alone? Does everything have to be the realm of political correctness? Can't we have a safe space from that PC insanity?
Oh, man.
Can you imagine explaining
not.
that to your daughters that are playing with that Disney princess doll?
Yeah, trying to change her
Can we keep them
background.
innocent for as long as we can, please?
I saw, Michelle, I saw one tweet regarding this from somebody who was really offended. They said Planned Parenthood has murdered 3 million Disney princesses in the last 10 years.
Yeah, that's wonderful. A wonderful point about the abortion lobby's support, and in particular Planned Parenthood, for sex selection abortion that specifically targets girls. And again, I have to go to the budget bill, because, of course, that increased the budget for taxpayer subsidies for abortion as well.
Wow. Here's what Planned Parenthood said. Melissa Reed wrote, "Today we joined an ongoing Twitter conversation about the kinds of princess people want to see in an attempt to make a point about the importance of telling stories that change stigma and championing stories that too often don't get told. Upon reflection, we decided the seriousness of the point we were trying to make was not appropriate for the subject matter or content, and we removed the tweet."
Yes, they should do more than delete a tweet. As the meme goes in social media, delete your account.
All right. Michelle, thank you very much for joining us from Colorado. Always a pleasure.
Yeah,
You
please.